Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. In today's video, we're going to discuss gold, silver, copper, and nickel, and some of the pros and cons of each metal as a physical bullion investment. I'll give you my top pick out of all these metals, and I'll show you some of the data that I've used to come to my conclusion. So let's get to it. Okay, so what you're looking at here are three types of physical bullion. First, I've got 36 rolls of regular old nickels here. Nothing special about these, they are the exact same coins that circulate today. And you may not know this, but US circulating nickels are actually composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. Not only that, but they actually have a higher melt value than their 5-cent face value, coming in at about 6 cents worth of metal in each coin. That's why I think these coins are just about the best way to invest in physical copper and nickel bullion at the moment. Next up, we've got some silver bullion here. I've got 3 silver kangaroos, one of my favorite bullion coins to be buying in 2021, and also 9 mercury dimes. All told, these coins together come out to just over 3.6 troy ounces of silver bullion. And finally, here is a Mexican 2 peso gold coin. This is the smallest gold bullion coin I own, and it contains a whopping 0.0482 troy ounces of pure gold. So why these coins? Well, if you haven't guessed it, these are representations of the same amount of value. Each one of these selections of bullion contains just about $86 worth of metal at today's spot prices. And I think that seeing these types of bullion together really is a nice illustration of just how dense a store of value gold really is. And that's definitely one thing that it's got going for it. But all of these metals have something to offer, so let's take a look. Starting with copper and nickel. There are some really great things about copper and nickel that make them an appealing bullion investment. First and foremost, you can pick these nickel coins up at about a 20% discount to their melt value. I did a video about this recently, and if you guys would like a more in-depth look at nickel and copper investments, check that out. Both of these metals are going to be in high demand going forward due to increasing industrial demand from electric vehicles, their batteries, and also the construction of infrastructure in emerging markets. However, the downside of these metals as a physical bullion investment are somewhat significant, the main drawback being just how much of this stuff you need to stack up to represent any real value. 36 rolls of nickels like this has about an $86 melt value at today's prices, and it weighs just over 15 pounds. You get the idea. If you want to stack up nickel and copper bullion, you're going to need a large area to store it. And you might also want to get some friends or maybe a forklift to help you move it around. And I want to pause for a moment before we go on to the next metal and just say a big thank you to any of you who are watching, who are subscribers. I really appreciate all of you, and I love hearing from you in the comments. It's also important to mention that none of this video is investment advice. Let me just get that out of the way. I'm just sharing with you guys my thoughts on these metals, but I hope you're enjoying the video so far, and if you are, please give it a thumbs up. And next up is gold. This little 2 peso gold coin is the smallest gold coin I own. And the reason I used it for this video was because if I used a larger coin, I'd need a giant pile of nickels to be of equal value. And that fact alone really goes to illustrate one of gold's best features. It is an incredibly dense store of value. Now, that could actually be a bit of an issue if you're thinking you might be using your bullion transactionally at some point in the future, but when it comes to storage and transportation of physical bullion, gold is by far the best and easiest choice. If you need to take your wealth with you on your person in a hard physical form, you really can't beat it. Imagine you need to flee your home and all you can take with you is what you can carry on your person. Do you want to be pulling a cart with a ton of copper, lugging around pounds of silver, or grabbing a few ounces of gold? I think the choice is clear. Combine that with the fact that gold is almost universally recognized as a precious metal and store of value, and has been for thousands of years, and the yellow metal does become an appealing contender for the best precious metals investment. However, another way of looking at the fact that gold is so much more valuable than copper and silver is that it's expensive relative to the other metals. And we're going to take a look in just a moment at the chart of the gold to silver ratio. as we move on to our next metal, silver. To me, silver really is the king of metals. It has a long established history as a store of value and hard money, and it's scarce enough to command a good value to weight ratio. It's not as dense a store of value as gold, but it's valuable enough that you can still comfortably carry a significant amount of wealth on your person, at least enough for any day-to-day purchases. Silver also happens to be quite literally one of the most versatile and useful industrial commodities, coming in only behind petroleum in terms of the sheer number of applications it's used in. Its unique properties, for example being the best conductor of heat and electricity of all the metals, or being a natural non-toxic antimicrobial material, mean that silver is always in demand. And it is this industrial consumption that really makes silver shine as an investment. Many investors don't realize this, but there is actually less above-ground silver available than there is gold, because while almost all of the gold that has ever been mined continues to be hoarded and saved in one form or another, annual silver production is barely enough to replace all of the silver that gets used up by industry each year. And if you take a look at this chart of the gold to silver ratio, you can see that we are definitely near the high end of the chart. And that means that at the moment, silver is historically cheap relative to gold. Given those two factors, one, the relatively small above ground available supply of silver and its accelerating industrial consumption, and two, the fact that silver is quite cheap at the moment compared to gold in a historical context, when faced with the question of which metal to stack, gold or silver, I've got to choose silver. But what about copper? While copper will certainly be needed for a world continuing to industrialize, my forecast is that demand for silver will grow at an even higher pace as electrification continues, we move towards a green energy infrastructure, electric vehicle production ramps up, and more electronic devices are produced as part of the Internet of Things. I also expect new high-tech applications for silver's unique properties to be developed at an increasing rate. So when choosing my ultimate pick for the best physical bullion investment of 2021, I have got to choose silver. And I'm not sure if this will really come as a surprise to anyone. After all, I am the smart silver stacker. And don't take that to mean that I don't like the other metals. I hold a bit of both, and I think their future prospects are good. It's just all about probabilities, and I think silver has the potential to appreciate the most going forward. One thing's definitely for sure though, stacking any of these metals is a lot better than stacking these. If you guys really want to stock up on paper, this is probably a better choice because at least this can help keep you clean. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you'll click that subscribe button so that we can talk again in the future. If you liked this video and you'd like to see more like it, there will be a few videos coming up on the screen now that you can click on, and there will be one about each of the metals that we talked about today, so take your pick. Thanks again, everybody. I will catch you next time. Smart Silver Stacker out.